Welcome to Aston Originals. Today we're talking to Dr. Duane Mellor about all things energy drinks. Well, thanks for joining us, Duane. Just quickly introduce yourself first for the listeners.
So I'm Dr. Duane Mellor. I'm a senior lecturer at Aston Medical School, also a dietitian and associate dean in the College of Health and Life Sciences.
Well, let's talk about this hot topic as it is at the moment. Sports and energy drinks, they're really, really popular. There's a new drink out on the market, Prime. It's quite hard to buy it, I understand. I've not tried it myself, but I've heard a lot of people are after buying this product. Now, Prime has been referred to as both an energy drink and a sports drink. I'm totally confused, so you're going to have to explain to me, are sports and energy drinks the same thing?
So the version of Prime that's been available and sold out in the UK has been a sports drink. The purpose of the sports drink is to try and help you rehydrate after exercise. So it's got some salts in there, some sugar, and that helps the water get into your body. An energy drink's a bit different. So the Retail Association for the Drinks Market in the UK describe an energy drink as one that has a stimulant, typically caffeine, as well often as a source of energy, which is often sugar.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Now, what do sports drinks do for us in the body? How do they work? Can you kind of get into the science of it?
So to absorb water, because it's a bit of a biological shock, our bodies can't move water on its own. So we need something else to move, then the water will follow by osmosis, which is a scientific term for how water moves with things like salt, glucose, and other things that are dissolved in it. So if you think about our body having our gut in there as a tube, inside that tube is a food and drink we've consumed. That needs to move through cells and into our bloodstream so we can use it. So what we need to do that, make that work, is we need a salt, electrolyte is sometimes called, and the one we need is called sodium, which is table salt. If we have too much of it, it's not good for our blood pressure. But in this case, and also when we've got things like extreme diarrhea, we use oral rehydration therapy, which has got sodium in there as a main salt. That helps drive what we call transporters, which take glucose and things like amino acids, the nutrients our body needs, into the cell. And that means the concentration inside the cell more than what's in our intestine. And then water follows through channels called aquaporin channels. We've got a great researcher in our college that does a lot of research on those, and that then moves the water into our body, and that helps to rehydrate us.
And that's essentially what energy and sports drinks are both doing.
Only the sports drinks, because the energy drinks doesn't have to have the electrolytes in.
So energy drinks, what's sort of the main ingredients for those? How do they differ?
So they'll have a stimulant. Quite often that can be caffeine, and we have to bear in mind that pregnant women and children are recommended not to have too much caffeine, because that can be, in terms of children, can affect behaviour, sleep patterns, and in pregnant women there's been some research to say that can affect the growth of the baby in the womb. Babies tend to be smaller if women consume more caffeine. For other adults who've consumed too much caffeine, that can affect things like blood pressure, heart rate, and cause sleep disturbances. So caffeine is a stimulant. We can also have what we call herbal things in there, like guarana, which effectively is caffeine. It's the source of that. And we have things, other sort of compounds in there, which are root compounds and various herbal compounds, which may be mild stimulants and things like ginseng, although the evidence in humans is not as good as it is in animals and cells. So that's a stimulant bit. The other bits in your energy drinks is quite often sugar. Do we need more sugar in drinks? No, we don't. We have government targets to reduce the added sugar in our diets because it's associated with not just poor dental health, but also because when we have sugar in drinks, it doesn't tell our appetites that we don't need to eat, and we can tend to consume more energy. And that's why sugar in drinks has been associated with weight gain and associated conditions such as type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease.
So essentially you're telling me that energy drinks contain caffeine plus other herbal extracts that are caffeinated and a lot of sugar. So am I better off just having a cup of black coffee? What's the difference here with, levels of these ingredients?
So in terms of some regular coffee, you have a little less caffeine in there. You can, of course, get sort of sugar-free energy drinks, which is a bit of an oxymoron, because really they're just stimulant drinks. And if you like a coffee and prefer a coffee, it's probably going to have the same biological effects. I think we see a lot of young people having these energy drinks instead of breakfast, thinking it's a way of getting going in the morning, but it's probably not a healthy choice because you're not eating and consuming other nutrients. We're not getting into good habits. And then we can either feel a crash later on, or we can feel that we need to do this, and that dependency is probably not a good behaviour to develop.
Yeah, I can see that. So why are they selling like hotcakes? I've heard a lot of people can't get hold of Prime, for example. What do people think that these drinks are doing for them?
So we think it's related to performance. If you look at Prime, it's got some interesting ingredients in there. It's got things like coconut water, which is quite high in potassium, not the sodium I mentioned that we need to absorb water. It's also got added electrolytes, which also happen to be potassium, which is not the sodium. So there has been cases in the past where sports teams have got sports drinks where they've got high levels of potassium, low levels of sodium, and unfortunately have nasty bowel side effects at half time. So there's that problem that you can have there. So potassium is probably not the best one. They contain branched chain amino acids. And some people argue that branched chain amino acids, these are essential amino acids, which means our body can't make them. There's 3 of them. They've got names like isoleucine, leucine, and valine. But there's no proven health claim that they enhance muscle performance, muscle growth, or muscle recovery. And for the average British adult, you get enough of these amino acids off a diet if you're consuming a little bit of meat, a little bit of dairy products, and the proteins you get in sort of various plant foods, including bread. So that's not likely to be an advantage. They also contain some B vitamins. So B12, most people, vegans can struggle with their B12 intake, but most people consume enough B12. So unless their body can't absorb it for various medical reasons, we don't need any extra B12. We need tiny, tiny amounts of that. But that is linked to fatigue, and that's why you can make health claims on labels based on that. The other thing it's got in there is B6. B6 is a protein managing vitamin. We do need that, and it can be associated with mood, but again, high levels are not thought to be good. So if you look at it as a product, it doesn't have any unique characteristics that make it, say, work as a good way of getting you rehydrated. It cannot make any significant claims about improved muscle performance. It can make claims based on the B12, but any product with B12 can make those linked to fatigue. So why is it being successful? It's got a nice brand, it's got a very bold packaging, and it's got a very, very powerful voice behind it, which has got influence. And once we get influence around products, then they become very popular. And the science, sadly, can sort of take a bit of a backseat.
So are you telling me that they give people energy because of the caffeinated element of these drinks?
So interestingly, the Prime that's been on sale in the UK doesn't contain caffeine, it's just a sports drink. There are versions in America, and again, when we're looking at food products and we see marketing and news stories, they can be more global. And we need to be very careful when we listen to these messages. Is this a message of something relating to the UK market? Because different food markets around the world have different products, and we can get confused by the message. And there's a lot of confusion when we talk about sports drinks, energy drinks, but anything to do with nutrition. So we need to make sure the stories are coming from our food market, our country, and not somewhere in America where there might be slightly different products which has different things in it.
I guess I'm wondering then is overall, are any of these drinks helping give people energy?
They'll stimulate you, so they might make you feel a little bit more awake. Yes, you would argue because they've got a little bit of sugar, even the amino acids of proteins, you can get energy from those. But our bodies store energy. We store energy as a kind of starch in our liver called glycogen. We can release that when we need to. Otherwise, we wouldn't wake up in the morning. Our bodies store some fat, and people have issues about how much body fat they have. That's a store of energy. All our food contain energy. The only thing that we consume that doesn't contain energy is water. So do we need these drinks to give us energy? We don't. There's no biological need. But through marketing need and this feel that we need this stimulation, this kick in the morning, could be from a coffee or from an energy drink, is why we go for them. In reality, we probably don't need them.
And are these drinks worth it in your opinion then, or is it just clever marketing? I know you just mentioned there's a lot of, there's a big driving force behind these brands.
If you've got a limited food budget, which is a reality for many people, if you're spending even $150 or even beyond that, the inflated prices of tens of or even more pounds on one drink, you could spend that money on buying other healthier foods. You could spend that money on eating a nice meal and enjoying it. But because of the way marketing is set up and because of our human nature, we want that impulse. We want to buy something that looks good, that's popular. The harder choice, and probably the more sensible choice, is choosing healthy food and enjoying it, or going out and enjoying a healthy meal and sharing that with other people. That'll be better not just for your physical health, but your mental and social health.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Duane. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Aston Originals, and follow us on Twitter at Aston Originals.